In its over 15 years of existence, the Plants vs Zombies franchise has seen its fair share of ups and downs, and as a result, so have we as players. This has especially been apparent in the 2020s, as PopCap and EA care about the franchise as much as I cared about the Barbie movie. In this video, I am counting down the 10 worst changes that have been made to a Plants vs Zombies game. Disclaimer, this list does count down from 10 to 1, but the order is pretty loose, so I'm not saying a later entry is necessarily worse than an earlier one. Also, an honourable mention, the levelling system in PvZ2. I've never had a vehement dislike to the ability to make your plants stronger. It's not too dissimilar to levelling in the shooter games. You get some cool visual effects like bloomerangs tossing pizzas, as well as useful buffs like Stallier's knockback and Hot Potato's ability to melt octopi, but it pretty much killed the balance of the game. Adventure is balanced around unleveled plants, and I think if they disabled levelling in Adventure or let players turn it off or de-level plants, it would be 100% acceptable. Anyway, let's get into the list. I'm Golden Ninja Vlogspot. Please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. First up, legendary character DLCs in Garden Warfare 2. Opening the list up with my favourite game of the franchise, Garden Warfare 2 is an excellent third-person shooter that is infinitely replayable, but it's arguably the most pay-to-win out of the tower defense and shooter games. At least the second TD game is free. A fully priced console game with one paywalled character and another formerly unlockable, now paywalled character might be off-putting for some. I never had that much of a problem with premium characters in a paid game. Hell, I'd acquired the Skylanders collection back in the day, but then came the presence of legendary character microtransactions. It started with Commando Corn and Scalawag Imp being available for purchase with the Festive Edition upgrades. I don't know about that, but the packs were released alongside the update that added them, so it didn't punish veterans, and then in late 2017 they released DLCs that included the Iron Citron and Toxic Brains up for grabs, which was basically an FU to anyone around that time that was grinding for those two characters for ages. Nah, it doesn't matter now that spoiled brat Robbie has access to his mom's credit card. And then they did the same thing with Tortured and Hovergoat. I mean, I can't say I'm fully innocent since I did buy the Toxic Brains pack, albeit to unlock future power because Rox wasn't letting me get my grubby English mitts on it. But overall, this really hindered the prestige of pretty much every special character that isn't Computer Scientist, or of course, the GOAT, Disco Chomper. Number 9, the redesigned Almanac in Plants vs Zombies 2. Poor PvZ2. The game has been mistreated even more than the average Victorian schoolchild, and with the amount of feces that's been flung in this direction in its near 12 years of existence, this game is going to pop up on the list a few more times. First, let's start with one of the less offensive ones, changing the Almanac. This is one of those change for the sake of change updates PopCap made in which the Almanac's design was altered significantly. The plants and zombies went from a single screen that encompasses the information of the highlighted asset with the selection below to a grid comprising the entire collection in which an asset can be tapped to view more about them. I think this is a decent change for the zombies, as it took so long to scroll in the Almanac before, but with the plants, nah. There were 3 in a column before, so scrolling didn't take long at all, and the text in the new version is just way too small. You couldn't have shrunk the Find More button. The Almanac no longer resembles an Almanac, losing a lot of its charm, and while the addition of the filter can be useful, the sorting one feels pointless. All in all, not a welcome change, but they've done much worse. 8. Removing multiple save slots in Plants vs Zombies 2. This doesn't sound so bad for those that are new to the game. Hell, there might be some people watching this that never even realised you could have multiple save slots. But shortly after the addition of Arena, then called Battles, another thing some of you probably didn't know, they nixed the ability to create alternate save files. Now, this is kind of understandable. There were concerns with people taking advantage of multiple slots in order to manipulate awards in Arena. But it really sucks that you can't easily start the game again without losing your hard-earned progress on your main file. Case in point, I've been criticised for having a significant amount of levelling on my account, and have wanted to start the game again on a new account without level plants. But can I do that? Nope, unless I head over to my PC where I can run it on BlueStacks. But this is just too much effort for what is honestly quite a basic feature. They also just removed the Create New button, so you add a bunch of pointless space that looks wrong. And then last year they upped the ante by removing the profile customization entirely, so you can't even set a new nickname anymore.
Your trip to the new and downgraded Plants vs Zombies 2.
Next up, removing game modes in Battle for Neighbourville. This is one of those multi-stage changes where something that was just fine was taken from us. Mixed mode is my personal go-to multiplayer mode in Garden Warfare 2. A little bit of everything, and it's by far the best way to play the more obscure modes. BFN already made a questionable change by limiting it to Vanquish Confirmed, No Bomb and Suburbanation, but at least you won't get stuck in the same turf takeover map 2 games in a row when you didn't even want to play turf. Then in summer 2020, they removed the mixed mode playlist. Yep, but then again, PopCap never believed in variety at the spice of life when it came to this game. The reason was most likely because the player count wasn't very high, and taking one game mode out meant at least the turf and Team Vanquish lobbies would be more populated. But here's the thing, now if a player wants to play mixed mode, too bad. Why not keep it around so someone can invite a bunch of their friends to populate the lobbies? Hell, they still have all the permanent game modes up in Garden Warfare 2 just in case people want to jump into a Vanquish Confirmed playlist. The mixed mode playlist was delegated to a weekly event, but as far as I can tell, that's gone too. This means you can never play a regular game of Gnome Bomb, Suburbanation and Vanquish Confirmed online. And then when they ported the game to Switch, they removed Team Vanquish as a permanent mode. Yep, that was pretty much a deal breaker for me, since that left just Turf and the god-awful Ops rework as the permanent game modes in that version. 6. Removing songs from PvZ2. I'm not talking about the regular ones. That was a glitch they really should have fixed by now. I'm talking about the demonstration minigame and ultimate battle themes. Again, quite a minor issue in the grand scheme of things, but it was great having a different theme for special and brainbuster levels. The motive behind taking these out was to reduce the storage space the game takes up on your device, which seems somewhat fair, but the game's only gotten bigger and bulkier over time. I don't think it's too much of a hot take to say they should have stopped adding new plants a while ago, so it makes you question their priorities. It's one of the best things about playing PvZ2 mods, honestly. Number 5. Locking minigames behind coins in PvZ1 mobile ports. In 2013, when I first played the original game, the paid version which is no longer available, more on that later, I was too naive to know the minigames and puzzle packs are obtainable for free on other versions and was happy to grind away to get the all-time best side mode in the Plant vs Zombies franchise, iZombie. I knew no better, and it was years later when I discovered I'd been completely and utterly conned, as on most other platforms you unlock more puzzle levels and minigames from completing previous ones, although you must usually complete Adventure to get all of them. And it's not like the packs are cheap either, 150,000 for the iZombie and Varsebreaker levels, and the minigames are split into multiple 50k packs. I mean, at least they have a last stand pack that you don't get in other versions. But why this change? The mobile versions already have more items on sale than the other platforms since they get the mystery sprouts for the Zen Garden. Were PopCap getting money greedy even in 2010? Who knows? But overall, it's a contributor to why the mobile ports are often seen as weaker than their console counterparts. 4. Reworking the expansion levels in PvZ2. This one didn't bother me much at the time, since I had no intention to replay the levels after spunking all my power, I mean beating the levels fair and square. But this was a bad call from Poppy Cappuccino. The levels can no longer be played on the player's volition, they have to wait for the limited time epic quests to come up, and you can't replay levels you've previously beaten until it comes back round again. However, it did have a reward of 100 gems up for grabs, so that's nice. In 2021, they removed the first 2 levels and reduced it to 80 gems. I don't know why, but then it got even worse in 2023 when they reduced the reward to 25 penis-kicking gems. So it's not even worth it at all. It's downright unfair to all the people who want to replay the expansion levels, even the masochists who want to do that Wild West level. 3. Removing Lawnmowers from PvZ1. This change. This change. I'm not going to say it's the entry that inspired me to make this video, but it is. So, PvZ1 on mobile was made for free in 2014, and the paid version was removed as a result. And they're very similar, except the free version has ads to make up for it being free of charge and lose the zombies on your lawn. But hey, it's a complete game that's made more accessible, and any changes will be purely bug fixes, right? Actually, wrong from the start according to the update history, but stay with me here. And then, in late 2024, they made one of the most horrendous modifications they've ever done, in which they took away 2 lawnmowers, and to get them back, you must watch an ad. And that's just for 1 level, and you can't choose to retain the mower, as it goes off after you finish the ad. Now that is a move so greedy it would make a certain pink Hargreaves creation explode. The game already had a reward gained from watching an ad, namely the Exploder Nut, a perfectly reasonable way to push ads, but they actively went back on a game they don't update and don't need to update to make it worse. Hell, my blood is boiling just thinking about it, and it doesn't even affect me since I still have the old paid version, because when I tried to play the new one it reset my progress after 2 days, and they still haven't fixed that yet either. There are some people who would argue that makes the game slightly harder, which is good because us filthy hardcore fans always complain that the game is too easy, but in that case, why not add a feature where you can turn Lawnmowers off yourself for a challenge rather than taking away one of the most iconic traits from a 15-year-old game? It also just looks wrong. I would have been less mad if they removed all of the mowers, because at least it all looks even then. People call for PopCap and EA to update other games that they abandoned, and this is what we get. Number 2. Ending support for GW2. Well, as the great Welsh band Manic Street Preachers once said, everything must go. I get that they were finished adding new content to the game. I even get that they wanted to focus on BFN, but they took quite a few things from us on their way out. Hero showcases were gone, although at least that means less noob toxic brains running around like a 6-year-old kid on a toxic waste-induced sugar rush. Community challenges were gone. Most of the heroes and tortured and hovergo costumes are no longer accessible through normal means. The mystery portal is still going, albeit it opens once a month, and this is a major reason for this entry, the rotation is terrible. As opposed to fan favourites like Soil Survivors, Cats vs Dinos and Boss Hunt, the latter two required for some achievements, meaning the game is literally impossible to 100%. They put on the highly dismissed Rando's Rapid Revenge and Get Off My Lawnathon multiple times. I believe in a certain conspiracy theory that they put all the hated ones in the schedule on purpose in order to drive people away from the game and into BFN, which worked absolute wonders as they stopped supporting BFN 8 months later, so they pretty much sabotaged this game all for nothing, if you believe my theory that is. They've made it clear several times that they have no interest in updating the game, or are unable to, which is very sus considering what they just did to PvZ1. And yet despite all of this, the game is still very much playable. It's a lot less accessible for newer players as Trials of Nomus takes at least 4 months with the long gaps between Town Hall openings, but if they just made one small edit to the game and changed the mystery portal rotation, the game would improve dramatically and the player base would probably increase. And taking the top spot in the list that is in order, but not really, the linear progression in PvZ2. This is something I've bitched and moaned about numerous times, and I'll continue to moan and bitch about it. After the game's major overhaul which changed the map up, Gargantuas were added, and in each world was a massive attack level in which the big juggernauts are the main attraction, and defeating this would give you a world key so you can choose whatever world you want. Personally, I consider this the best progression system. There's complaints that you can get soft locked if you're dumb enough to play Big Wave Beach right after defeating the Mommy Garg, and the amount of levels you have to play to reach the Garg stage largely varies, but I really like the grand reward for beating the big stage, and it gives the player a path to choose without having them run around like headless chickens drunk on power. Then in 2016 they changed the world order based on difficulty, and gave the player all of the keys after beating the Ancient Egypt Garg level. I never liked this change because it felt a little cheap, but I do understand why they did it, and then in 2021 they simplified everything all for the worse. Garg fights now give diddly squat, and you can only advance to the next world after beating the Zomboss fight, and you have to play the worlds in order. Well, except for the Egypt Garg, which gives you a key for Pirate Seas still. Yep, no choose your adventure in this game no more. Some people prefer the simplicity of this, but I disagree. Staying in the same world for 30 straight levels is pretty mundane, and some worlds become unnecessarily difficult when you don't have access to certain plants. Probably the most egregious example of this is Far Future now coming after Lost City, so you can't use the early unlockables Laser Beam to counter Parasol and Excavator zombies, and Blover to counter bugs. Overall, it's an incredibly frustrating change and makes the game more tedious, and has ultimately put me off starting from scratch. Not that I can easily, mind you. That's my list. What changes to a PvZ game do you dislike? Let me know in the comments. Please leave a like and share with a fellow PvZ fan. I'm Golden Ninja Vlogspot. See you soon.